Hi, here's another thing that I've been thinking about for the next little video, and it goes back to the days when I used to watch some great trombonists play, and they would do this trill, and I thought, what the hell is that? How do they do that? Because I was very primitive, I wasn't classically trained, I was a self-taught traditional jazz trombonist, but I would hear some players doing trills, something like this. So I said to myself, why can't I do that? I'd hear people play phrases like, so the way to do it is simply training. Anybody can do it. If you can play the trombone, you can do it. I had a friend, a good friend. I have a good friend. His name is Robert, and we used to train together every day. I'd go around to his apartment. He was studying at conservatory, and he was learning all this stuff about endurance and flexibility. That's the word they use, flexibility. And I was curious about all that stuff, and I wanted to learn it too. And it was his practice period, or an additional part of his practice period, warming up for the day, whatever. And so we'd spend an hour together, and he would teach me, or rather, teach me, pass on to me some things which I could use. And one of the things that we did was, for lip flexibility, simply going through the partials in different positions. And so on. Up the slide. 7th position for me is a long way away. I find those things quite difficult. And being a jazz player, being more a high player, as of late, for lead and second rather than third or fourth. So don't get down there very often. So I tend to be a bit lazy about that. But so I start in 6th position and come up and down again, and sometimes I go down to 7th just to satisfy myself that I am paying a little bit of attention to that grey area, that lazy area down the bottom at 7. Anyway, the thing is, one of the exercises to develop a good trill was simply to alternate tones. That's all a trill is. I've had some classic lessons from a classical teacher, and of course you see those written things on with little sort of, I don't know what they call them, mordants or all kinds of things like that, and it's diddly diddly done in 2 positions or something like that, like with an F and G, these 2 notes. Well, I'm not really bothered about that kind of trill, to be honest. I want a nice trill in 1 position. So that's my trill. That's F with the false A flat above it. It doesn't matter, because I'm interested in jazz trills, and sometimes you get them in section, written with a kind of squiggle over the note, and sometimes when you're playing a solo, or probably more often when you're doing some kind of solo, or in an ensemble, in a traditional jazz situation, you want to just throw in a little trill here and there just for fun. One of those little things you learn. Don't overdo it. Just put it in there, and then when you think it's appropriate, and certainly don't overdo it, because that's like all those tricks, like circular breathing and all those things. They're boring if they're overdone, but they're quite impressive when you just use them occasionally And if there's somebody out there in the know, because the general public, they don't know, they haven't got a clue. They just see you do things that, I mean, even how the trombone works to the average public, the member of the audience is a complete mystery. They see you doing it and it's like, oh, it's easy, you just move your arm up and down. They don't know, but musicians do. So if you drop in the occasional little trick there, it kind of validates your authenticity. You know what you're doing, so to speak, even though you perhaps you don't. I've known some players who are completely actually not musically educated at all, who can do some nice trills. I suppose they just learned it intuitively. They heard records of people doing it and they said, oh, okay, or see people doing it. Oh, I'll try and do that. And maybe after a bit of trial and error, they get it. Anyway, it's basically just alternating between two notes. So if you do long notes, alternating, let's say an E flat and whatever is above it, it would normally be an F sharp, wouldn't it? Normally you have to move the slide a little bit up, of course, for the F sharp. But we're not really into that kind of accuracy, as I say. It's not like for, you know, the guy from conservatorium who sees his thing on his you know, whatever it is. He's going to do it all correct, and it has to be, you know, well, I'm not. I can't do that. I can't trill and move the slide a bit at the same time. I just want to get a trill off, you know, that lasts a second or two, or even half a second, you know, in transit while I'm playing. It comes off in transit, and I'm off to the next note and the next phrase. So to get it off, let's keep to that one example, the E flat with the note above it, and how I learned to do it was just to play the two notes. And of course these notes can be in any position. You know, the lower you get, the more difficult it is, like a B flat trill. That's difficult. And you don't really use it anyway, so not in, you know, as I say, not where I come from. So let's go again back to the E flat with the note above it, long notes. Of course, absolutely no tongue and a smooth airflow. No tongue. This is the whole point of it. It's not tonguing. So, and then speed up. But it'll take a while to develop it. Not in one practice session or something. If you do it in one practice session and you develop it, you'll find you can do it a bit. That's because you're all warmed up, and so you need to. It's like riding a bicycle with no hands. You try it and it goes a bit, and you fall off your bike, and you do it. You try it next day. It starts to go a bit, and every day you do it, it goes a bit better till eventually you can ride your bicycle with no hands and you know, answer the phone while you're doing it, or smoke a cigarette, or do something stupid. So. You know, put your hands on your head, or even put your hand on your head and rub your tummy at the same time. Imagine that. So this is it's a little bit the same. It just develops a kind of automatism, an automatic reaction. So then you can begin to develop it, move up and down the slide a bit, try it in different registers. It's something you have to maintain. Once you can do it, it's like riding your bike, you'll never forget it. But to keep it supple and to keep it effective, you do need to do the right kind of exercises, and those are basically slurring exercises using no tongue. But I mean, for a jazz player, we tend not to use too much tongue anyway. That's a part of the philosophy. That's all I've got to say about that. This is already 10 minutes long, which is 10 minutes too much probably. But anyway, if you and up till this point, if you never did a trill and you want to go in that direction, you want to develop your playing and incorporate it as a component in your daily routine and your playing, well, that's the way I did it, and I can do it. I'm not a master, but I can get it off when I want, and that's it, guys. So thanks for watching this little video again, and take it easy.